Hello, everyone. My name's Teddy, and today I wanted to talk about why I play on an Ultimate Ironman. This is not the only account I play on, but it's what I've been mainly playing for the past 6 months or so, and it's nothing special, but I've been enjoying it quite a bit. And through playing it, I've seen and talked to a lot of friends about how uh, horrible it is, how masochistic people are that play UIM. And in my opinion, it's a very misunderstood game mode. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why I find enjoyment out of playing it, and how I don't really put myself through a lot of pain and suffering just to play this account. I do it because I enjoy it. So getting right into it, the thing that really drew me into the game mode at first. This is not my first UIM. I made one probably about 5 years ago and ended up quitting that account for various reasons. And have played. I maxed a main in between then. I played a couple of normal Ironman accounts, and I finally found my way back to playing a UIM. And it's been great. But the thing that drew me to it at first was how much more of a sandbox experience it was. When I made that first UIM, that there wasn't an Ultimate Ironman guide on the wiki. There wasn't a route that everyone took. There wasn't an Osiris guide for Ultimate Ironman. You really found your own way through the game and pathed through the early and the mid game the way that you wanted to. And there were some well-known metas for skilling and things like that. But there wasn't, a cookie cutter way to go about things. And a lot of those methods are now generally obsolete. So the method that I think about a lot is limestone bricks from Bergdarat, or from Shades of Morton technically, and doing construction training through that. And nowadays, you do mahogany homes for better XP plus woodcutting XP, and it's cheaper. And it's less click intensive. It's better in every single way, as far as I can tell. And there's quite a few methods now with everything in the game gets easier over time. But there's a lot that was wrong with the game mode, and I think people still view Ultimate Iron Man through that lens where everything that you do is tedious. And one thing I'll say to that as well is I've watched a lot of Ultimate Iron Man progress series, and I enjoy YouTube as I think most RuneScapers do, but so many times I'll be watching a progress series and I'll be watching a UIM do something, and I think to myself, wow, that looks horrible. And that's because to me, it is horrible. And maybe it is to them too, I don't know. But what I've found is that you don't have to do things that you don't want to do on this game mode. And some of you may be looking at this herblore method and think, wow, that looks horrible. And it's not my ideal way, but I have noted secondaries, I have noted unfinished potions, and I have a clean enough inventory where I can train herblore what I deem to be somewhat efficiently. And I don't mind this, and I'm excited that I'm making a bunch of potions. These aren't the most useful, but I've been making useful potions, and I'm excited to have those. And this is how you do it. But there's lots of skilling, and it was the same way on a main account where sometimes I didn't do 3-tick 4G on my main, but I did 4-tick granite with Celestris bark. And yeah, it was less XP per hour, but it was very chill in my opinion, and it was very easy, and it was great. So I think people get caught up too much in doing things the most efficient way possible rather than just a way that works for them. I heard a guy that is well known for skilling say something along the lines of, the best method is the method that you can do for a long time. and that there's a lot of truth to that. Just because a method is faster, if you hate it, then I mean, for one, you shouldn't be playing a video game and doing things that you hate, and two, you're probably not going to want to do that method long term. And it doesn't matter how much faster it is if you burn out, or if you just can only do it for 20 minutes a day. Like, most skills, that's not going to get you very far. And you need to find things that work well for you. And UIM is no different. So just because you see a UIM do something that looks horrible, it doesn't mean you have to play that way. You can find another way of doing something. And usually things don't feel as tedious as they look, in my opinion, or in my experience. The next thing is not very apparent from my current inventory, but if I can find a screenshot, I'll post a screenshot of what my inventory looks like when I am doing like Slayer, or just I'll talk about this in a little bit, but you have an inventory that's just kind of ready to do anything. And it's one where I'm not death banked, so I'm not really worried about dying. I don't want to die because it's annoying, but I'm not risking any items if I die. I have my looting bag, I have my rune pouch, I have my construction cape, and like coins, seed box, herb sack. I thankfully have Lumberage Elite done, so I don't have a Drayman staff, and that feels awesome. But before I had that diary done, I had my Drayman staff, and I really enjoy that half of UIM. That's like what I had for questing, and you're just kind of ready for anything. I call it the Boy Scout state, where no matter what you need to do, you have everything that you need. You have coin. Like, how many times have you been on any other account and you go to like take a charter ship or something and you can't because you don't have coins, and that's the only thing that you're missing? That doesn't happen when you have that inventory set up. So yes, it takes about 8 slots, but those 8 slots allow me to do almost anything. Now, that's not how a lot of skilling is done. It's how some skilling is done, but most of the time, if you're skilling, you're in the other half of Ultimate Ironman, which is where you're death banked, you're risking your items, and you only do safe activities like herb lore, because you're not going to make potions with 10 free inventory slots. That'd be horrible. You could, and if maybe I'm making like 100 potions, sure, but that's something I've seen Ultimate Ironman do on Progress Series before, is they'll make potions and they're like, yeah, this is fine, and they have like 13 free inventory spaces. And like, that sounds horrible to me, and so I don't do it that way. And I do things that I think are somewhat efficient, but they're ways that work for me, and it's my account, right? I play it how I want to. But yeah, Ultimate Ironman generally is broken up into those two states of being, where you have your inventory. It's most easily seen as like a Slayer inventory, where you have stuff for combat out. You have your looting bag with like supplies and loot that you're not using at the time. You're not risking anything, so dying is not a big deal. It's not fun because of like the looting bag mostly. But it's, you're not risking anything. And I really like being in that state of Ultimate Ironman. But I don't mind, suiciding and getting a skilling inventory set up for certain things. And that's how I did like construction. It's how I'm doing herb lore. It's useful when it's useful. So to go a little bit more in depth on the questing that I mentioned, one of the biggest surprises to me on this Ultimate Ironman has been the sense of accomplishment that I have felt from achieving things. I have Quest Cape on this account, and that has felt similarly rewarding as maxing a main account. Um, it's different accomplishments, sure, but quests, and I'm not good at this game. I've played the game a lot, but I'm not good at it. And so quite a few of the quest bosses were genuine challenges for me. And you tack on, lack of skill with lack of inventory space, and all of a sudden you have a challenging PvM encounter. Um, the Desert Treasure 2 bosses, including that last fight where you have to fight like three or four of the different guys, those were challenging. Those took a lot of attempts for me. It was the first time I'd ever done the quest, but it was a challenge. And I felt that was my last quest for Quest Cape, and it was an amazing feeling. And it's hard to get that feeling, at least for me, from a main account. Ironman, you have a similar type of thing, but to get that sense of accomplishment on a main account, I basically had to max. And there's very few things on that main account that I'm genuinely proud of doing. The max cape is one of the few things, but Quest Cape wasn't a big deal. You just got it done. You had your bruise, you had your whip. It's just not as much of a challenge at all. And so it is really nice to have things that you can achieve that feel meaningful. I'm going to get 2K total today in a couple hours after these potions, and I'm very excited for that. That's always a big milestone for any account that I play, is 2K total. And 2K total on an ultimate feels really good. To be honest, it doesn't feel as good as the Quest Cape. I mean, I haven't gotten it yet, so maybe I'm wrong, but it's just been something that I've gotten over time because I like to train my skills. And I would like to max. I would like to max one day, but I'm not. That's not like the. I don't go around saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna max this account," because that's a big task. I put in months of preparation for Herblore, and I'm getting like 1.5 million XP. So I need to do that. It's just like it's. There are some skills that are truly ridiculous. Mostly just Herblore. Even prayer nowadays with the offering spells is not that bad. But yeah, it's really Herblore is the main problem. Cooking is actually more of an issue than I thought it would be, and now they just nerfed Trouble Brewing, and so that's kind of a problem. I'm still not sure what to do about cooking. The meta is to buy karambwans and make fires with your alt and cook like one tick in inventory at a time. And this goes back to the first point I was making. That sounds horrible to me. It's world hopping. I have to figure out which world has a fire. I am spending a lot of gold, and this is my cash stack. I have like a couple 100K in like other storages that I like to just keep for a rainy day. So this is my cash stack. I don't have a couple mil or 10 mil to go spend on karambwans for 99 cooking. And that's just one of the many reasons why I really don't want to do that method. I might end up doing it, but that's not the plan right now. So cooking and Herblore are problems. But there's not been much on this account that I've done that I have not enjoyed. The main thing that comes to mind was actually the Pharaoh Scepter. I think it was 4.5 times the rate for a Pharaoh Scepter. I got 91 to 93 thieving from only looting the chests, like the grand coffins, or not the grand coffins, but the gold chests in each room. I got 2 thieving levels from that before I got a Pharaoh Scepter. That was horrible, especially on a UIM. Like, I was going to Castle Wars to get anti-poisons. I was going to the Warriors Guild to get food. It was bad. It was bad. But that's the worst that I've really experienced on this account. There's not been much else that like truly has been unenjoyable. Everything else has been perfectly fine, no problems. And that's sometimes it just happens in RuneScape. There's things this game is a lot about setting goals and achieving goals, and sometimes to achieve those goals, you need to do things that aren't your favorite things to do. And it's not exactly the direct goal, but to get to where you want to be, there's some things that you need to do that aren't your favorite thing to do in the game. And now I have an occult altar in my house, and it feels really good. My house is pretty much maxed. That's part of what I'm doing herb lore for, is I need the ornate pool, and after that I will have a completely maxed POH, and that is going to feel really good. The pool is going to be a nice addition to that. I have the second highest tier, so the one that restores your stats and things like that. And it's good, but it would be really nice to be able to heal mostly. The venom and poison would be nice too, but the healing would be very welcome. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. So generally, accomplishments on a UIM just feels better. And I don't. This is not why I play a UIM, but around when I was like 1800, 1900 total, people started to like comment on my account and like compliment it, and that feels good, because I think people see a UIM and there's still people in this game that don't understand how anyone can gain any experience and any skill without a bank, because banks are so ingrained in their experience. And that's part of what I'm making this video for, is to hopefully explain that it's nothing, I'm not doing anything special. It's a lot of more of like noting things and there's a large difference in UIMs versus a normal Ironman. A main, so what I'm talking about is like with like loot that you get, even just from like skilling activities like Wintertod or Slayer. On a main, you sell it. That's it. You put it in the GE, you sell it, and then you buy what you want. I think that's a lot of people's issue with playing on a main account. And on an Ironman, you hoard it, right? So one of my favorite tabs on my old Ironman was the like skilling supplies tab, and it had like your ores, your gems, your fletching supplies, and I loved that tab. And I think a lot of Ironmen like that tab, and I think a lot of Ironmen that think about Ultimate Ironman are turned off by that, because you can't really do that. You can to an extent with a looting bag, right? But half of my looting bag is potions and herbs and secondaries, and so that alone is a big, you do get like an herb tab, but that's the main tab that you really get on an Ultimate Ironman. But what I was saying is, you can't hoard things. So what that means is you'll get a drop, or you'll do a Slayer task or something, and in general, if you want to get the most experience out of what you got as loot, you need to find ways to go and use it somewhat immediately, or store it for and hoard it a little bit, but you're going to use it that day or something. So like herb seeds. If I get a couple of high tier herb seeds, I'll just go do an herb run and plant 3 or 4 of them, and that's how I can kind of save space, basically. Um, I also, another example of this is I kept, I think it was 8 Calquat saplings. I kept them for 8 days, and I planted every single one of them because those things are 12,000 farming XP each. And yeah, I was doing Hunter Rumors at the time and a little bit of Slayer, or Slayer and then Hunter Rumors. And it wasn't ideal to be down an inventory slot, but what is that, 90? It was like 100,000 farming XP that I got from just keeping those on me for about a week, and that's worth it to me. I kept, there'd be times like, man, I really want to drop these, but I also really want to get that farming XP. Not that farming XP is particularly difficult, but it's I want to try to make the most out of what I am given in this game mode. And so that's using your ensouled heads after every task. Well, I try to use them at the task, if that makes sense, like being on Arceus. And that's part of why I wanted to get 99 construction, was so that I can be on a different spell book and not have problems. Oops. The last thing I want to talk about is that this game mode, this is another thing that really drew me towards playing an Ultimate Ironman, 5 years ago, and again, or like making a new one about a year ago, is how much benefit you get from planning ahead. It is my favorite part, I think it's fair to say. It's my favorite part of playing on an Ultimate Ironman is the planning. When I made my first Ultimate, like about 5 years ago, I used to have a whiteboard in my room, and it wasn't for Ultimate Ironman. I had it for doing mathematics, but what I started to use it for was just my Ultimate Ironman plans. And it was so fun to have, my next, month or two mapped out. And it wasn't set in stone. So if I didn't want to do something, or if I tried something and it was horrible, then I would pivot. But having a plan helps so much, and it allows me to kind of use my game knowledge that I've built up over the years to have things really just fall into place. And there's been a couple of times on this account where things I'll finish a couple of small goals all very close together, and it'll just be a couple of days of really satisfying gameplay where things are working out pretty much according to plan, and I'm achieving lots of little goals that I set out to do, and then I can kind of maybe do the big goal that it was all working towards. Like Slayer has been a motivating factor. Obviously, I do not have a high Slayer level, but a big reason for that is because I wanted to do things like get 99 construction before Slayer, and there's lots of little things that I want to do before Slayer, kind of in the early stages of Slayer, that I think will help. So I'm putting it off, but I think for good reason. And so it is nice. You kind of get that planning aspect on a regular Ironman. Pathing is very important and very dynamic on an Ironman, on any Ironman account. On a main, it matters a lot less, but on an Ultimate, if you can plan correctly and kind of loosely follow your plan, then it can create some very satisfying gameplay and small achievements, because you've made a plan, you've stuck to it loosely, and it's all working out. So if I had to summarize from this little ramble, especially if you watch this far, my summary would be that this can be one of the most satisfying game modes that I have ever played. because it is difficult. It is not impossible, but there are quite a few hurdles that you need to figure out how to get across. And yes, that can be seen as tedious and you can't do what you want because you got to do these four other things before doing that. But that's a lot of Ironman in general anyway. And so with these hurdles, you can either view them as just tedium or something that you can overcome and make achievements that, at least to myself, matter a lot more than other game modes that I've played.